Good morning. It is fun to be back here. My best friend and I, we went to school here, and we were way more rowdy than you guys. We're like, this is quiet. I personally sat in the very back, middle, center, like fourth chair in, so no one could reach me to tap me on my shoulder to remind me I'm supposed to be paying attention and not studying. Um, but I had to figure out how to do what I needed to do to graduate because I really took my time. My freshman year took 12 hours or 13 hours, whatever was the minimum, so I could just relax. And then they let me know I'd be here for like 7 years if I didn't start taking more classes. So I eventually did that. One thing that I did before I came here, I made a mistake of watching like the people that came before me and realized like my pastor has been here, a good friend of mine, Twyler, has come, and I'm just regular, so I'm not gonna be taking us to like a new biblical high, but I am gonna share my testimony. And when I was originally supposed to be here, it was in October when the ice storm came, and you guys were kind of focusing on living a better life. So when I wrote this, it was based on that and how I'm trying to do that this day. So starting off with a little bit of my life. I was a military kid. I was born in Germany, lived in Austria, Georgia, North Carolina. We moved around a whole lot. And I think that helped me become, like if you know anything about the Enneagram, I think when I was in college, I was a 7, wing 8. I'm now an 8, wing 7. Yeah. So just want to have a good time. Like, let's travel, do whatever we needed to do. In high school, my high school advisor was kind of like, hey, I need you to apply for colleges or do something like that. And I was like, I don't actually think I'm going because I want to join the Peace Corps, or I had gone and visited Ghana my Christmas break, my senior year, and the pastor there told us that they were looking for people to come and teach English to the kids in the village. And I'm like, I speak English, so obviously that's what I should do with my life, just go ahead and go to Ghana, and I don't need to go to college, so I never applied for anything. I had to take the ACT, but that's kind of what I did. I was a B, kind of a few C students, wasn't intrigued by the all A 4.0 grade life. My brother did that. He was always like, I have to have a 4.0. When he went to school here, he got some random scholarship where you could never have a B, at all, which I told him did not sound like a very healthy relationship because sometimes you're just going to need to skip a class or just not take a final every once in a while. You just need to live a little bit. And he was not about that life. He was like, no, I have to do this. And so we laugh to this day because we both graduated, both worked for the same government job, making the same money, and I slept in a lot. And we ended up with the same outcome. So I won, I feel like. In my college career. He agrees with that now. The verse that I kind of wanted to start off with is Acts chapter 1, verses 7 through 8. And it says, he said to them, it is not for you to know times or periods that the Father has set by his own authority. You will receive the power of the Holy Spirit, and you will know, you will be my witness in Jerusalem, Judea, and Samaria, and to the end of the earth. So everyone, again, was kind of concerned about how I was going to turn out in life because I was never serious about anything. And when I ended up coming to SNU, it was really because I decided not to go to Ghana and teach English because one of my friends got malaria really bad, and that seemed kind of scary. So I was like, we'll not do that. But then I decided I'd go to the Peace Corps until they told me that was a 2-year commitment, and that seemed like a long time for me to be away from my family for 2 years, so I decided not to do that. And my friend's mom worked here, and she was like, you can still go to SNU. They start in 3 weeks. Just do all the things and come to school. So I decided I'd do that. So I came to SNU. My mom drops me off, amazed that I figured out how to get to school in 3 weeks. And I graduate just a little, 4.5 years. It was better than the 7 years that was predicted earlier by my advisor. So, when I got out of college, I actually got a job for working for child welfare in DHS because I had done an internship there. And I wasn't actually going to apply because, again, there's this huge test that you had to take and you had to study, and I don't do good on tests, so I didn't really want to do that. And then my supervisor was like, wait, we have a shortage of child welfare workers, and we can hire whoever we want as long as you have a degree. So I had a job before I even graduated. So I loved calling my mom like, hey, I got a job with a salary and insurance, and like I didn't even actually apply for it, but I got it. So that's kind of just how my life has worked. Like I've always just decided I would do something, and then last minute something else worked out for me. When after college I got married, I met my husband here. He played soccer on a full ride, thank goodness, because I have a lot of debt from that extra semester. So he got a full ride. We decided, like, let's just have some kids. Like, we need to do that, right? That's what you do. And so my first kid is Zion. I think I have a slide of him. Look at him. Oh my gosh, he's so cute. He's my sweet boy. He is like, if you were gonna have a firstborn child, this is it. Like, he was so calm. In pre-K, his teacher called me one day and said, hey, so we're sending Zion to kindergarten for reading because he taught himself how to read. I was still thinking he needed to know his ABCs. So my husband and I were like, hey, apparently our kid can read, and like we didn't know that. So he got to go to kindergarten and go do reading and math there, and then go back to pre-K and play with his friends. In second grade, he played basketball, and he was so frustrated because he could not make any free throws or whatever. And so he himself went to the library and checked out a self-help book on how to become a better basketball player. And in the car before his game, he's reading. He's like, I know what I did wrong. I know what I did wrong. He's 8. And so he's like, I'm going to, like, kill this game. I know what I did. I need to place my hand different. And so he goes in this game, and he's making every shot. And I'm crying, like, laughing hysterically. And the parents were like, what is going on? And I was like, he read this book, like, on the way here. And apparently, like, it fixed his life. So he, like, what kind of kid does that? I'm amazed. In 5th grade, he decides, like, soccer is my love. I'm not doing basketball anymore. But I realized that I could get injured and not be a soccer player. So I'm going to be a sports medicine doctor. And so then I can fix all the athletes and be like a team doctor and travel with them. And so he looks up the University of Maryland that has a great soccer team and has a great sports medicine program. He knows he needs a 4.3 to get in. All 6th grade, he bugged all his teachers to give him that extra 4 point whatever, which I'm trying to tell him they don't care what you do in 6th grade. Like, honestly, live your life. And you can't actually get a 4.3 because there's no AP classes in 6th grade, but he argued with us continuously. But he also told me if I'm going to talk about him in soccer, I have to show you this clip of his free kick that he made or something, whatever. It's not a corner kick. But here's a little video of him making yeah. Just cheer really loud so I can tell him you were impressed. It's fine.
Boys!
Sorry. Okay, here he goes. Oh, look at that. Like, they couldn't even stop it. Yes, like, impressive, right? Right. I'm going to tell him. You were so impressed. So this is like his goal in life. We were going to have a soccer player and or a doctor, like one of the two with him. So we were so excited. We're like, we're great parents. Like, we don't even have to teach our kid anything. He just self-help books himself to life. And so we decided we'll have another one. So then came Ezra. And as you can see, that baby was so sweet. When he was born, you guys, like, it deceived us. He was asleep. Like, the doctor picked him up and said, it's a boy. And he stretched and did this and just didn't mind any of us. Like, he didn't care that he was born, like, literally not in my womb anymore. So they're, like, hitting him, you know, whatever they do to make him start crying. And then he has never calmed down. Like, he is crazy to this day. We don't know what we did. Like, we were like, you have the same parents, so what's going on? Ezra was running around my house at 9 months old. We were like, sit down, like all the time to him. And he was up and he was running. He was getting out of the crib, and we couldn't figure out how because I had it like on the lowest level. So I peek around the corner, and we have kind of big heads in my family. And so he used his head, like flicked his head over, and his body just like followed out of the crib. And I'm not joking. I recorded it to show my doctor. I said, look what he's doing. And she's like, no, he's going to break his neck. You can't, like, leave him in the crib. You have to put him in a toddler bed. He escaped my house at 2. I wasn't home, so it's not my fault. Like, I blame the husband. He was running down the road, like, and when the police showed up and asked him what he was doing, he's like, I'm chasing the cars, you know. And they did show up because the neighbors called and said there's a kid running down the road in diapers. And so my other neighbor was like, I know Ezra, I know his house, let me take him home. Like, please don't take him into child welfare custody, which I worked for them, so that would have been awkward, right? If I showed up to my own kid. And so my husband's like, I don't know how he got out. Like, what happened? And we still don't know. So he was doing that. He also, when he was 6 years old, I'm going to show you a little bit about his talent show that he taught himself this routine. He's upset because he only has 105 views, so you guys are going to add to his number of views. But check out what he taught himself at 6 years old. Here's his little talent show. Sorry, it's kind of loud. Just wait for it. It's crazy. Yep. Michael Jackson. It gets good. Look at him. Oh, man. I cannot do it. Hang on. Oh, goodness. Here he goes. Look at him. That's good. You can stop it here. I won't make you watch the whole 2 minutes. It's kind of, yeah, that's good. But yeah, so he was like, hey, Mom, I tried out for the talent show. I'm like, doing what? What are you doing? What is your talent? He was like, Michael Jackson. So he taught himself this routine, and that is my life. So I was like, okay, well, we're still winning because we have like a sports medicine doctor or a Michael Jackson impersonator in Vegas. Like, whatever, they're still going to do good things, right? I mean, we're still okay. So among all of this, like living this crazy life, telling my Zion when he was 5 and 6 that he can't read magazines. Like, he has to stop reading because they're all eye level for kids. And he's like, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. I'm like, no, we don't read magazines. Between that and trying to keep Ezra alive, I decided that I needed to like join a Bible club and Bible study in my church and be with some women so we can pray, lay hands on my little ones. And one thing I learned and noticed in this Bible study was that all of the women had this big testimony. Like, I know when God saved my life and did this, and I was like they come to me, and I was like, well, I mean, I've had a life. It wasn't that hard. I mean, my parents did. I won't say it wasn't bad. My parents got divorced in middle school. I mean, I was a military kid. I traveled all over the world, so we're like, I kind of say that's why I have relationship issues. Like, I like people and then I don't. Or maybe that's just because I'm an 8. Like, I can't figure it out. But maybe, I think it might be that. And so I didn't have that story where there was a moment in life where, like, I needed the Lord. And without him, you know, I wouldn't be able to overcome. I didn't have that Sayla, that, like, pause and break that you hear about in Psalms where you just take that deep breath. I've never really had that, but I wanted it. So the definition of Sayla, and there's a lot of them, I realized when I looked it up, so I just chose this one that stuck out to me. But it means to pause, to reflect, the point during which singing that you take a breath and you take a break. You reflect on the things that come before you got to this point, whatever that point is in your life. So a few years after we had Ezra, because we figured, like, we're still doing okay, right? As parents, for the most part, everybody's alive. We'll have one more because I wanted 3, like, I don't know why, maybe because there was 3 of us in my family, so I wanted 3 kids. So we decided that we'd have another one. I know. And so I go to find out the gender of the baby by myself because at this point, like, when you have 3 and 4 kids, you realize it's just not really worth your husband taking off of work to go to a 20-minute appointment when you can just text them, like, it's a girl or a boy. We already have 2 boys, so it's going to be one or the other, right? So he didn't actually have to go. So I went, and she's doing, like, the little thing, see what it is, and it's a girl. And I'm like, yes, finally, because my boys are nasty. Like, they do all the things that, like, my bathroom always smells. Like, I don't know why. But I was so excited to have a girl. I'm like, we are going to kick it. Like, whenever her boyfriend breaks up with her, we're going to eat ice cream and talk about him. Like, we're just going to do all that stuff together. I was ready for all the mom moments. And so I'm texting him, and I look up, and I notice that she's kind of, like, hanging out around the baby's heart a little bit longer than I was comfortable with, but she assured me she was just trying to get a better picture of it. And so I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, your job is to tell me if something's wrong. So obviously, things are going pretty okay. So we get home. We're like, okay, let's name her Sayla, because I've always liked that. I don't know. I was like, if I ever have a girl, I'll name her Sayla, which I get to pick all the first names of our kids because my husband is from Kenya, and so they have, like, tribal names. So he names the kids by the time of day when they're born. They get a Luo name. So I get to choose all the first names. So I was like, I'm going to name her Sayla. So after about a couple weeks after we found out that we were having her, they called back and said, hey, we actually need you to go to a specialist to get a better picture of her heart because we still didn't get, like, a great picture. So I go to the specialist, and the nurse says, okay, so you're here to look at the bright spot on the baby's heart and to look at fluid in her lungs or her abdomen. And I was like, who's here for that? Because I'm here to get a better picture of the heart. And she was like, oh, okay, like, it's fine. They'll call you back, because I was very confused since that was not what I was told. So I'm sitting down, and of course, I'm, like, whipping out my phone. What is a bright spot? What is going on? And they start saying, like, oh, a bright spot could be a low marker or something for Down syndrome, or it could just be that there's calcium deposits there. Some people were saying, all of my kids had that and nothing's wrong with them. So it was just a little bit stressful now. And I realized, like, maybe I should have actually brought somebody with me to this appointment, but I wasn't concerned. So I go in, and the doctor's taking all the pictures, looking around, and he's like, oh, her heart's perfect. No bright spots. The whole heart is formed perfectly. Everything's working. There's a little fluid, but it's not abnormal. Nothing's wrong with her. Then he starts saying, if she were to have spina bifida, and I was like, what is happening? Like, where am I? I thought we were only looking at the heart. And he's like, well, she doesn't have it, but if she did, and I'm like, how about we only talk about, like, what she has, and don't tell me all the things that could possibly be wrong, because there's, like, too many of them. And so he's like, well, the only way to really know if she has or doesn't have Down syndrome would be to take a blood test, but he's like, your odds are way low because I was 31, I'm healthy, like, I don't have any genetic history, but he's like, I can't tell you that. And he said, but would you have an abortion if she had Down syndrome? And I was like, no, why would you even ask me that? And he's like, okay, well, then don't take the test because it's going to cost you like $700. Your insurance won't cover it. You don't need it. She's healthy. And I was like, okay. So all of that's, like, swarming in my head. I decide I'm not going to take the test, whatever. So then Sayla is born. Here's a picture of her on her first day. Look at her. Oh, my gosh. So she's born, and she looks just like Ezra when she comes out, except for she's screaming because, Ezra was asleep, living his life. She was hollering. She was not happy about it. But she was my biggest baby, 8 pounds, 7 ounces, great head of hair. Like, everything was great. So I took, like, a good deep breath because I had been worried this whole time about whether or not she would have Down syndrome, so I didn't take the test. And I noticed at one point 2 nurses kind of walked by, and they said something, but, they have masks on, so you can't hear them. And they kind of looked at each other, and then they walked away. But it was an awkward pause, like, enough that made me say, like, that was a little inappropriate or disrespectful because I think you're talking about one of us in this room, and I don't know what's going on, right? So I'm trying to figure it out. My husband's like, she's fine. Nothing's wrong with her. I don't see anything. Nobody said anything. And then they pick her up. I should have mentioned before, which I forgot, that the doctor had said something about them having, like, if you were born with Down syndrome, the babies tend to have, like, a large spot or a thicker neck or something. And so when they picked her up, I noticed this bulge on the back of her neck, and I was like, what? Like, literally, my heart dropped, and I was like, she has Down syndrome. Like, this is exactly what he said that these babies would have. And even though I didn't take the test, like, nothing else looked like it, but her neck was so large, and it, like, sent me into, like, a panic. So I wanted to start crying, and I'm looking around the room, and nobody is bothered. My husband's, like, showing her off. My mom's happy, and I'm like, maybe I'm crazy. Like, I don't know what's going on. 5 days after I get home, and we go in for her weight check. The doctor says, oh, she's doing great, she looks great. And then she sits down in her chair and kind of pulls it up to you. Like, that's the moment when you're like, okay, what is she about to say? So I remember looking down and then hearing somebody screaming. Like, I have never heard anything like this. Like, some lady is hollering. And so I look up, like, what is going on? And I realized, like, everybody is staring at me. And so I was like, oh, am I, like, screaming, crying? Like, what is going on? And it turns out that it was me. I knew in my heart of hearts that she had Down syndrome. I already figured that out. But hearing it, I don't know, in the atmosphere just, like, did something to my world. And I ended up, like, with pain that I can't even imagine. Like, I heard this scream, and it sounded so foreign to me. Like, never have I felt pain like that. It was like almost a soul cry, you know? And so I sat there for a good hour, like, I didn't leave. I was like, I cannot get up and go out into the world like this. And so I sat there for an hour, and I'm thinking to myself, like, how did this happen? And I'm, like, pleading with the Lord. Like, I'm telling him, I didn't even teach Zion how to read. Like, are you sure that you actually need to give me a child that I'm going to have to, like, help? Because I did nothing for the other two, and they, like, just figured out their life, and I don't know how to actually parent in this capacity. And I kept thinking about the boys and, like, oh, my goodness, is this going to ruin everything for them? Like, are their friends going to laugh at them for having a sister or a sibling with special needs? Like, are people going to do the one thing that eights cannot stand, which is pity me? Are they going to feel bad for me? Are they going to say, oh, they're so sorry? Are they going to just start clinging around me? I can't deal with it. So I'm just trying to remind him that, like, look at all the years you've taken care of me. And I reminded him that for 6 months, I actually was a vegan, and I did not cheat at all. Like, even when Chick-fil-A was in front of me, I didn't eat it. For 6 months, I did all of the right things, and yet I still end up with something that, like this, that I can't shake. I remember just being so upset one day, but I didn't ever cry in front of the kids, and Zion saying, hey, Mom, aren't you so glad that God gave us this baby? And I'm looking at him, and I'm like, in my head, I didn't say this. I know this would be rude, but I was like, no, like, this is the hardest thing that we're going to have to deal with in our life, and he has no idea. And so I'm telling my coworker, like, I feel so bad for Zion. He has no idea what his life is going to be. And she looks at me, and she's like, well, I feel bad for you because actually Sayla's fine. Something is definitely wrong with you. Like, you need to go get help or something, but nothing is wrong with her. Like, she's living her life. I don't know what's going on. And that's kind of the way that God started dealing with me from there on out. Like, he a little bit turned all my friends against me. Like, they started kind of being mean. Like, they were like, go get help or something. Nothing's wrong with her. Another friend, I was telling her that I'm so nervous about all these blood draws that they were doing in appointments. And she said, do you want something to be wrong with her? Like, what if her life is just good? Like, what if everything is fine? What if she never has a problem walking or talking or doing any of these things? Like, and she's a nurse. She was like, medical books, we talk about the majority, but there's always a percentage that does not apply to this. And everybody is a person, you know? And then my best friend Loretta, I've been telling her for years, like, I think for like 4 months that I was having a heart attack pretty much every day because I was having these pains, you know? And she's like, you can't actually have a heart attack every day. And I was like, pretty sure you can. Like, I'm looking up all the signs. And so she finally has enough of me, and she drives me to the heart hospital in the snow. So we're slipping and sliding up 122nd, trying to get to the heart hospital. After we had already, I think IMSA was there. We called 911 because I was having a heart attack. But I didn't want them to come to my house because I didn't want to scare the kids. So I told them to meet me at her house. I don't know that they should have been able to do that. But somehow it worked. I just said, I'm going to be here. Come and get me and check my heart. Like, something's wrong with me. So they come, and they're like, you're great. And I was like, you're not even a doctor. Take me to the heart hospital. So we go there, and they wheel me in, and they're checking my heart, and the doctor's like, your heart's great. I'm like, no, it's not. Look at this. All the little lines were, and he was like, well, you don't want it to go straight. Like, we want it to move. And I was like, oh, but like every time it moves this level, it hurts. He's like, okay, so you're having a panic attack, but you're not having a heart attack. And Ezra's, and like, Loretta's like, you can't argue with the cardiologist. He's like, he actually knows you're not having a heart attack. Okay. So I finally, after a while of going back and forth, he releases me into her care, and she takes me home. And I'm just sitting there crying, like, everyone is mean to me. No one believes I'm actually dying and that this is going on. And like, they're just sending me home, and I don't know how to do all this. And I feel like at that moment, God was like, how long are you going to do this? Like, how long do you want to cry? Give me a number, a time period. Like, let's move on from this point. And I didn't really have an answer. And he kept saying, like, do you believe all of the things that I've said ever in the Bible about me wanting good for your life? Like, everything that he does for us is for us to prosper. He never intends harm for us, that he makes everything perfect, and that he makes everyone in his image. If I believe all of those things, then what is actually going on right here? I turn on the radio and I hear a song from my favorite singer, India Arie, and it's called I Am Not My Hair. In just one line, she had said, I am not my hair, I am not the skin, I am the soul that lives within. And at that point, I'm holding Sayla, and I remember just thinking, like, yeah, like, she's not Down syndrome. She's not any of the things that are outwardly her, any of the markers that they saw at one point. She's not any of those things. She is her soul. Like, she is whatever God has created her to be. I get on Facebook, and my cousin has commented on a picture of her and says, man, our God is a God of perfection, and look at her. Like, she's perfect. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I get it. I get it. Like, I have lived my life thinking that, one, a tiny baby could actually ruin my life. I was pretty sure about it. And yet I had forgotten all of the things in my life growing up in the church that God has told me about who he is and about his creation and his being. And so I begged at that point that God would just give me joy, because I knew in this situation there was nothing joyous for me. Like, I knew that maybe we were going to have the hardest, most difficult road to walk with Sayla. I mean, maybe not, but I wasn't sure. But I knew it was going to be different than with the other two. And so I would ask him, like, show us favor. Give us joy. Let me laugh again. Like, stop letting me think I have a heart attack every day. Take away that anxiety. And for the first time ever since, like, I was 22 weeks pregnant, I took the deepest breath or pause or Sayla that I've ever taken in my life. I remember that in this world, we will have troubles, but he told us that he's already overcome those things. The things that I think are going to end all, they can't. You know, he already has victory over those. And so I started to understand earlier the verse that I read when he said it's not our place to know the things that he has authority over. Like, I went to every doctor's appointment. My friend who's a genetic counselor told me that the doctor who saw me is like number one. Like, he drives all over the state, all over the country. He knows what he's talking about. And though he never told me she didn't have Down syndrome, he did tell me that her heart was perfect and that she was fine and she'd be chasing her brothers around, which she does. She beats them up constantly. She actually hit Ezra above the eye with the remote control the other day, so his eye is swollen. He deserved it, but whatever. So she was all of the things, and I wasn't needing to know that yet. Like, I didn't need to know. And so because maybe I would have freaked out and been having anxiety, and who knows what had happened during the birth. But I've met a lot of people since then who have been in the same situation as me, who have had their third, maybe fourth child, and all of a sudden found out, like, my kid has Down syndrome. And the Lord, like, spoke to me and said, like, this is the reason why we suffer and we have pain. It's not for us, right? There's going to be someone at some point who is going to go through those things, and we are going to be the one who are his witness throughout the world. Sayla is 4 now. She'll be 5 I have a few other pictures. I think the last picture is pretty good. There's all of us. Look, that was in 2020 when we were like, "Yay, 2020!" Whoops, we didn't know. We didn't know COVID was coming. We were so happy about it. But so that was we didn't take one this year because we're just like, let's just ease into 21 and not say nothing about it, right? And so she's 4, she's living her life. She walks and she talks, and her favorite things are pizza and tacos, and she will tell you that all the time. She has friends, and honestly, like, we can't imagine our life without her. She is everything that we didn't know that we wanted. The one thing I want to leave you with today, and I'll let the band come up and sing, I know I'm running out of time, is what is your Sayla? Like your pause, not necessarily talking about a kid, but what is your moment that has knocked you off your feet? And if you haven't had one, because I didn't have mine until I was almost 32 years old, like, how will you handle it? Will you do what I did and accept defeat right away and just say, this is it, the whole world is ending, I guess, like, all things bad are coming my way? Do you have the friends that I had that were sick and tired of me and had enough and just said, get on with your life, get over this? If you don't, find those people, because one day it's going to come and it's going to happen. Life, for sure, is all I can guarantee you. It's going to punch you in the face. You're not even going to see it coming, and it's going to hurt. This is my 8th speech to all the world. It is really coming, and it comes fast, and it blindsides you. But what you do with it matters. What you do with the life that God has given you matters. The people that speak truth into you, it matters. Your story is not just for you. It's for all of us, okay? It's for everyone. It's for all of the people that are going to go through those times. So I want to leave you with just a little verse from the blessing. I love this song. I know you've probably heard it a lot. But may the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace, especially in those moments that you can't breathe. May his presence go before you and beside you and behind you and all around you. May he be with you in the morning and in the evening and in your coming and your going, in your weeping and in your rejoicing, because you will experience all those things. May you be with peace. Thank you.